okay?
Yes, party people. Yes.
Great. We got 13 minutes on the clock. Are we already live? So,
Bo, did you work out today?
did I work out today?
Did you
Yes,
do
I
your
did.
workout today?
Yes, I did.
That's
Well,
what I'm talking about. What's up, Ninja? What's up?
I'm 18 days straight on this.
That's my guy, man.
And now I'm trying to figure out how to bring some other things into the mix. This was horrible, but I will only share this with you and will not put this anywhere else. But this, um, okay, this is what it looks like when I go out in public. Okay, that's my Survivor buff. And one of these days, ask me about how far I made it on Survivor. Okay, this is what I looked like when I graduated high school.
Yeah, you were trying to get a graduation picture from me.
I did. I was just
messing. Know how to find one.
Okay, I went to college. I played football for 4 years. Got up to about 260 pounds, and then I decided to lose all the weight, and I looked like this.
Ooh.
I bleached my hair blonde.
Are you blonde?
I did. I bleached my hair because I'm redhead, and I bleached my eyebrows, and then I had like a 28 waist, and so it was funny running into those pictures. But that was 23. I'm 45. That's many moons ago. I'm not gonna.
A long time ago.
Yeah. That's not having 2 kids with no stamina in my world. So yeah. No. So.
Oh man.
But yes. What is on tap for tomorrow?
Nothing.
Okay, so we're off tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow's off.
Okay. Are we gonna come back Thursday?
That is the plan.
Okay.
Bobby says he's gonna get his stuff together, and then there's a couple of coaches that have been in boxing wanting to present, so I just gotta get with them. I'm taking a day off tomorrow. Tomorrow's
I appreciate that.
Yeah, tomorrow's 1 year. Have some personal time.
That's good.
But there's some coaches that are inboxing us wanting to share. I think it's gonna be some cool stuff. And then we got to get with your DC.
Okay, we'll get on.
Ninja.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of outside linebackers out there that would love to hear from them. So
okay, I'll get on them then. Yeah.
Yeah, tell them to hit us up.
I went ahead and got out all the logistics even more for the game. So
hey, can we talk? I know it's gonna be late. Can we talk about that after this?
We can, because I've already. Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah,
okay.
I've even added more. I mean, made it more controlled and defined. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
9 minutes and counting.
What are you presenting, Ninja? Doing a presentation?
Well, no, I don't. I'm not. I'm not doing presentations. I've just got a couple videos. I've got some play stuff. I don't know. I'm still figuring this whole presentation thing out.
Hey, do what you do.
Hey,
Jen King was in our living room running around last night.
She was. So I've got some things I'm going to show.
Ninja, do me a favor. Share something real quick. I want to see how bad that messes me up.
Okay, share. Let's do this.
Okay.
You want me to share a video?
No, I just wanted to see. I'm trying to be a little bit more like ESPN tonight, and you threw a nice little curveball at me. So that's what I thought. Because we use Zoom, the images consistently change,
Okay.
and so like go back to unshare.
Okay. Wait for it. That's what I always have trouble figuring out. Oh, there it is. Stop share.
Yeah.
Got it. Nailed it.
Okay, that's good. So okay, that's what I was hoping. So the squares go back to the way they're supposed to, meaning I'm always where I'm supposed to be. OJ's where she is, and Ninji's where she is. So I just have to get what you're sharing. So do me a favor. We got 8 minutes. Go back and share.
Okay. Share. And here. Share. See?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay.
You can only understand my craziness. Now, you have a lot of stuff going on here.
Yes. Do you need me to not?
I would love for you to enlarge when you have this screen because you got a lot of stuff. If you can enlarge, if you can't, that would be perfect if you showed that.
Okay.
Okay, and even like work your brain out when you do your video. Minimize that and bring your video up.
Okay.
How difficult is that going to be?
It'll be fine.
Okay, good.
I can. I can look.
Oh, I know.
got this.
You're fine. I just don't want. I don't want all the because some people are watching it smaller. I want to get it as large as we can.
Done. I can do that.
Perfect.
My team tells me to do that anyways. They're like, Ninji, make it big. And I'm like, oh yeah, quick. So I got you.
Okay, you're perfect. That's great. Awesome.
Perfect.
All right, go back to unshare.
Unshare. Hit that button.
Sharing.
Bam.
Did the live just stop?
The answer is no.
Let's restart online. Here we go.
We're at 6:30. We're about 20 seconds off of what we got.
Okay, I'm going to share it. I emailed you, Bo. That's me emailing.
Okay. Turn your. Okay, turn it off.
I don't know about you, Ninja, but his volume went away on me.
Yeah.
No, am I still here?
Now
No.
you are.
Yeah.
Meaning that as I was talking, it faded.
Yeah.
Okay. Feeling the spirit right there. You clapping in the air like that, making nervous.
All right, there was a bug.
I'm not gonna judge you that you got bugs.
Flying right at my head.
All right, we're at 5 minutes.
I know I'm sharing right now. Hold on. You always
Okay.
make me nervous when you do the countdown.
Well, I have to. I don't really have a choice.
You're going in and out on us.
No,
bro, like,
it's just me. I'm not boisterous my voice. Relax. Good thing is, I'm trying to work on a processor, so I'm having issues. And what you're going to make me do is pull my processor so you don't have to worry about that. So that's what I'm going to do because I still haven't perfected it. One, two. Hey guys, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. 1, 2. OJ, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
Sorry. Fucking lady. This lady's about to make me cuss her the fuck out. Like I'm trying to woosah. I can't. You're really faint.
I'm not talking. Nobody's talking.
Oh, I thought I heard you say, "Can you hear me back there?"
No, no, no. That was either somebody's got something up loud, but we're not talking. We're good.
I bet. Go for it.
Okay.
Because
This morning, okay, I'm in charge of the cafeteria. Okay, I'm the cafeteria person. My wife's the teacher. I've been fired at everything I'm doing and I used to be a school teacher. Taught history and psychology to seniors.
It's your grammar.
No, I mean yes, no language. My son goes, "Hey, cafeteria lady, I need a refill on my chocolate milk." I thought I was gonna kill him. It was good. And he's 5 years old, so it was cute for a second, just for a second.
Cute.
It was
That is kind of cute.
It yeah.
Wow.
So
I'm dealing with a 19-year-old and his friends and friends' moms and parents, and he ain't even mine. And I'm just, who's.
We're at 2.5.
You do make me nervous with that little countdown.
I'm I don't want to sit there and tell you, "Hey, we're going live," and you didn't have a chance to breathe for a second. You're fine.
Good.
It's the stand-up comedy person in me that everybody would always tell me, "Hey, you got 2 minutes before you on," and it's always good to have that in my brain.
Yep.
Check 2, 3, 4. 5 into the 6.
I love this music. It's good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome. Let's get this thing started. I love that the hostess with Moses started talking a little bit. Welcome to the WNFC TV presentation of the Women's National Football Conference. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. Session 12 of the Women's Tackle Football Virtual Camp. The discussion for tonight is the linebacker position. And look no further when the WNFC's very own Rebellion from San Diego, California, number 47, Ninji Martin. Known with no further interruptions, let's bring the hostess with the mostest, the CEO and co-founder of the WNFC, Odessa O.J. Jenkins. You can cheer for yourself. It's okay. We'll get that taken care of in just a minute.
I was cheering for you, man. That intro, like, I like the voice
well,
inflections.
I'm
like
working
you.
on it. See, you have the drawback that I have, and I will share this out loud to you. I get, what is the word? I get everything about a half a second delayed in my ear. So it looks like, so I'm hearing things. So if I took my earpiece out, I haven't adapted to that yet. So I'm hearing my voice and it's messing my brain up. So I had to write down things and see if I could pull that off. And I'll work on it. I'll work on it, and it'll take baby steps. We have a new background for everybody. We're trying to kind of bring a different view, kind of be able to manipulate some things, sit back and enjoy. Number 47, Ninji Martin.
Hey.
Glad to have you with us. Very much so. I had a chance to talk with you a little bit before. 12 years as the linebacking position. Now currently with the San Diego Rebellion. I'm glad you're repping your brand, which is always nice. And we have another brand repping with Odessa O.J. Jenkins.
The brand, Ninji. Yo, you can always count on the Rebellion to rep their brand, Like I know you've been on their socials.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you've seen them. Like, they stay in the brand.
I would be afraid to show up without my brand on. I would be afraid what the lady number 47 in front of me might do to me if I showed up with that.
Pretty much anybody that shows up, we give them a shirt. We're like, here you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
I understand. Yeah, I grasp that. So, well, enjoy tonight.
Wait a minute. Before you get off,
yes.
I thought you had a picture to show everybody.
Oh no, we don't show that picture. But I have no problem. The old, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. That's all I'm gonna say. That's very hashtag Me Too generation, and I'm fine with that. But I mean, you want to? We'll throw it out there. The look on both of your faces when I showed you what a blonde-headed man looked like at 23, when I'm red-headed. Oh yeah, it's good times.
It's all good, Bo. I think the world deserves to see you.
No, not anytime soon. Y'all enjoy tonight. Sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Make sure you ask some questions out in the Facebook world, and we keep our eyes on it. And away we go.
Welcome, Ninji. We're so excited to have you, man. The world knows you. Everybody knows you. Hearing you talk about the linebacker position is going to be fantastic. So I'm not going to cut into your time. I just, again, want to thank you in advance for doing this, because I think giving back to people is one of the most selfless things that someone can do. So thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to ask a lot of questions tonight because I got to thank linebackers. You know that RB, LB thing go.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway, man, thank you so much.
Of course. All right. Well, thank you for having me back. Appreciate it. This is my second clinic. I did Defense 101. So today I'm just jumping into linebackers. I love the linebacker position. I am in my third year at Sarah High School coaching it. I've coached elsewhere, coaching linebackers, but we've got a special group at the high school, and so I've been really lucky to work with them. But with that position, right, I know everything that's going on around, and then my guys know everything that's going on around. So we're just going to start from the basics, and we're going to move out, and any questions you guys have, just put them on there, and I'll be happy to answer them. So obviously, Sam, Mike, Will are going to be our three interior linebackers. Like I said, I'm not going to touch too much on outside linebackers. I'm on my DC, Serrata, to do that clinic for you guys. So as far as alignment goes, I usually tell my linebackers to line up at about 5 yards depth. That's a give or take. In a perfect world, you kind of want to stagger your linebackers. I usually have my Mike linebacker the furthest back because that's usually the player that's going sideline to sideline. My Sam is usually going to be the next closest to the line of scrimmage, and then my will is going to split them. And the reason that I have that is because my Sam is usually going to be my hitter. If they're hitting a tight end, we want them right there in that person's face ASAP. So it doesn't make sense for me to have them back off. As far as who they're lined up over, that we're going to get into a little bit more when I show you guys some actual base defenses. Okay, so, but for the first things first, we're going to get into a stance. So I am going to share my screen with you guys. And so this little clip that I have, it's not really to show you guys so much how to get into the stance, but more or less what it's going to look like. Okay, right? So I'm going to play it. Right, as you can see the numbers on the chest. He just happens to be 47. Trust me, I did not pick this video because he's 47. This is in the Rebellion linebacker library. So he's number 47. As you can see, he's low, hands are loose. Okay, chest is still big, so you can see the number and or logo. Eyes are up. Okay, and we're going to get a nice little side view of it when I click forward. So with USA Football, one of the things that we do is we help coaches on how to help kids, especially, get into techniques. Well, if you're dealing with athletes who've been playing other sports, getting into a good football position might not be the easiest thing. So I'm gonna pull a Jay King here, and I'm gonna kind of show you guys, right? So what we use, the easiest thing that I can do, feet, stamp those feet, squeeze, okay? That's going to squeeze my shoulder blades back. Let me tuck that up just a little so y'all can see me. Hey, right?
Hey,
so
do me a favor.
I don't see.
Ninja, unshare it.
I'm on my screen.
Yeah,
I'm
unshare
doing
it.
two things at once. Oh, because I can see me. That's the
Yes,
tricky one.
it's okay.
No, I got this. See it there.
I'm about to say, I'm getting all excited. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
You guys see me, right?
Yes, we can see you.
Yeah. So, easiest way to get an athlete into a good football stance, feet. That is naturally going to set your feet about shoulder width, maybe even a little bit wider, but it sets you naturally. We tell them to squeeze so that those shoulders pinch back, big chest, and then instead of telling your player to bend, right, that's what I do when I bend, we want them to sink into it. And that is what's going to create a good Z in the knees. It's going to keep that chest big because I'm squeezing my shoulder blades back, and then I'm just going to release those hands. I like my hands out in front of me, right? As that player gets comfy, you saw I widened my stance a little bit. I know some players like to be right under their body. Some players like to get a little bit wider. But an easy way that we've found to set my high school athletes, our Rebellion athletes, a 6-year-old athlete, feet, squeeze, sink, hands. Okay? Easy stance. You can use that for almost any position because if you're going to change that into a lineman, you simply have them put a hand down. Right? You can simply have them stagger one foot halfway back on the other one. The biggest thing that we want to set as football players is our base. And the best way to do that is to just have that person stamp their feet because naturally they're going to set themselves up in a power stance. Right? Most people, when they stomp, they don't stomp right there together. So I dare any of you to try it. If I just said, hey, step your feet, 1, 2, you're going to end up in a pretty good athletic stance most of the time. Okay. So as you guys can now see, right, I showed you, okay, from the chest, right, from forward, how I got in that stance. Here's my dude over here, big chest, flat back, Z in the knees because he sank into that, right, instead of bending over into it, okay? So from there, right, we've got our stance, okay? We know about how far from the line of scrimmage we're supposed to be. How do I know where to line up, okay? So then we usually talk about strength. When I talk about strength with the linebackers, okay, we tend to talk about it as where we are on the field, how many players they have on the field, or if everything is even, which arm that quarterback throws with. Those are the 3 easiest indicators. Now, you can get real high level. You can go off of a running back. You can go if they have, certain formations. You can change your strength based on formations, right? But for the most part, one of the easiest ways, okay, is you call it to the wide side of the field, if there is that. You call it to the numbers, so if they have 3 receivers to one side, okay? Or you can call it to the quarterback's arm. Okay. A lot of coaches will also say tight ends. We don't see a ton of tight ends. So if you see a lot of tight ends, that's an easy one because a lot of teams tend to run to that strong side. So a lot of coaches will also use that as a good strength indicator. Okay, so I am currently seeing you guys, which means I am now going to switch back over. Look at this. I'm getting the hang of all this technology. Shoot. Okay, so we're over here. I'm going to flip it over to my little play guy. Let's make this a little bigger. Oh, wait, we're going to do the full screen. See?
Look at
remembered
you,
eventually.
Minji. Get it.
Remembered eventually. Okay, so first defense we're going to look at is just a 3-3 stack. Ran this the whole time I was at the Surge. Loved this defense. It was great because we could play a lot of games with these outside players because our interior linebackers had the knowledge and athleticism to be able to help on outside plays. And what I mean by that is we could blitz these players, we could blitz them inside, outside, and these Sam and Will players would be able to get out into space to help out with that. Okay, so that defense was really fun. In that defense, we called it a 3-3 stack because you guessed it, our linebackers are stacked over the defensive line. Okay, so our coach says, okay, we're going to run a 3-3 stack. Perfect. Our defensive ends in a 3-3 are usually, coaches can tweak this a little bit, are lined up on the tackles, okay, and on the center, right? This is an odd front, 30 front, some might call it, okay? So with a 3-3, right, with this odd front, none of these players are technically assigned a gap right now, right? If I was to look at this just as a novice, I'd say, well, this player can go either way. That is correct. So most 3-3 defenses are going to have an assigned direction that those defensive linemen are going. That allows the linebackers to fit opposite of them. Okay? So, you guys hear that dinging? Is that me? That's fine. It's probably me. All right, so anyways, we're here in our 3-3 stack. Okay? As a linebacker, I'm going to be lined up behind my defensive lineman. And the reason for this in a 3-3 stack is because, like I said in my video, these guards are uncovered. They're usually trying to work to a linebacker. So our goal is to use these defensive ends as almost like a shield. So we're going to stack behind them. That kind of, like, it doesn't hide our alignment because that's stupid. I'm never going to say we hide alignments, right? But it shields you from the vision of that tackle, which means the guard can see you, but the tackle can't. So those two players have to commit to a blocking assignment. Okay? If you're in a gap, obviously it changes the blocking assignment, but both of them can see you and decide what is a better reaction, right? There's a little more visibility. Okay? So in our 3-3 stack, we're using these defensive linemen to try to shield, okay, pre-snap our linebackers.
I have no idea what that weird thing is, but it probably means every time you are really insightful, you get a ding. So let's just call it that, okay?
If I mute my computer, will it mute?
Yeah.
It mutes, then you guys can't, okay, then I'm
correct. Let's just keep it moving. Every time you hear it, it just means you're doing a good job.
Like a fairy getting its wings or something, right? I wish I could fly. Anyways, off topic, okay? So, 3-3 stack. Beautiful. If you have a 2-gap nose, and what I mean by that is somebody that can take up both these A's, and you've got a mic that can sniff out the ball, this defense is a ton of fun because this person basically can take up 3, and your mic can become a free runner and can fly to the football. So, okay, the next defense, okay, that I'm going to talk about because it's got these 3 interior linebackers is this 4-3. All right? Typical alignments for a 4-3 are, like I said, we're going to have ends, outside techniques, okay? Usually it's a 5. Sometimes you'll see a wide 7, right, if they're going to try and really get them coming off the edge hot. And then interior-wise, strength is usually to the 3 technique, and that's usually to the strong side, and weak side is going to be in a 1 technique, which means your linebackers are going to be fitting opposite of that. see if there's a way to. I don't know. Okay, I apologize, friends. All right. So again, if we are lined up in a 4-3, these linebackers are not going to be stacked behind defensive linemen. Okay. Typically, we put ours shaded to their gap. All right. We usually also have them aligned for effect. So in this situation, my Sam, because we have a runner, we have a receiver outside at the slot, the Sam is going to apex. For us, apex means they're going to split the distance between the last man on the line of scrimmage and that slot receiver. Okay. So here's my Sam backer splitting the difference. If they had 2 running backs, that allows my Sam to stay in the box. Okay. But because there's this receiver out there, we're going to walk that Sam out to help with coverage, okay, and or to help with run fit off the edge.
Ninja, do you ever look at a situation where you might have, because in some situations in women's football, there are some vulnerable centers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever look at out of here and giving a double shade to the center or blitzing that center, that one gap right there with the mic? You guys do that a lot?
So we don't blitz a ton. And a lot of that is because we tend to do stuff with the front line. So if we know that there's a weakness on their offensive line, center being a great point, we will usually try to put somebody there that we know can disrupt that player. So we're not typically going to put 2 people on someone that already struggles, because that to me is a waste of a player, right? So it's one of those situations where I will bring pressure at them from different situations. We will, put a good player on them, but we rarely commit 2 unless that player is a beast.
Got it.
And usually then it's a good player. And usually it's a secondary player. It's not necessarily our 2 best players on their best. It's one of our best, and then somebody who's a good secondary guy. If we're committing 2 to one player, again, it's one of those situations where you have to. If every time you commit somebody to something, you're now playing down a player, right? So every time I blitz a linebacker, if that player doesn't make the play, I'm 1 short everywhere else.
For sure, there's a lot of risk involved, right? It's a high risk situation,
right? Risk for results. But no, that's great. You, as a linebacker, one of the best things you can do to help your coach out is to see weaknesses in an offensive line, because if you can help your coach find soft points, that's where your team can attack. How you attack that is your coach's choice, whether it's blitzes, stunts, putting specific players there. Like I said, we had one defense where we knew we could take advantage of their center, and we knew, it was just because she was not good at snapping under center. So it wasn't that she was a bad center. It was just we knew if they had to go under, we could put pressure on her, and there was going to be some issues there. But that's one of those scouting things. We just seen it on film enough. And when we got into the game, we realized, hey, this is actually a thing. Let's take advantage. And, we had something dialed up for that. But stuff like that is film prep, and is about being present enough as a linebacker to be able to talk your D line and say, hey, what's going on in front? What's going on with you guys? Okay, so last one I'm going to show is it's written as a 4-3. It's actually a 4-2, right? Because I committed, okay, these 2 outside players. They are now true outside linebackers. Neither of them has a gap responsibility inside the box. Okay? Neither of them will ever move into the box. They are strictly outside the cylinder players. So I'm running with a 6-man box now. Right? 4 linemen, 2 linebackers. These can be strong safeties. This could be, hybrid linebacker DB. But I want to make sure that I differentiate you guys, because in this situation, if this running back was to go into the backfield, this dog is what I'm calling them, stays outside. They are a true outside linebacker. I can bring them off the edge if I want. I can still blitz them. I could, all that good stuff. But if that person moves in, they don't shift in like on the 4-3 that we were just looking at, where that sandbacker walked back into the box. Okay, so that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, between a 4-2 and a 4-3 is that outside linebacker is never going to come back in. They're always going to stay outside, okay, in that sort of apex-looking position. All right, so I'm going back to my 3-3. I lied. I'm gonna, you know what? This is the rebellion, so I'm just gonna work with this. But I am happy to answer questions on anything that I talk about, and anything you guys have questions on. Again, so next thing we talk about, right? So now I'm in my stance, right? I've got my stance. I know where I'm lined up because I know that we're in our 4-2 defense. So I'm out here. I'm going to be shaded to my gap, right? It's strong. Here, let me put my receiver. Well, that's not my receiver. I love it. I love it. There we go. Okay. So I've got my receiver out here, which means I've got my dog out here in coverage. I'm calling strong left because I'm saying it's a right-handed quarterback. Okay, right? If she's right-handed, I'm looking at her. That left hand looks like it's on my left side, right? So my mic is going to be here watching this weak side A, because remember I told you guys, for a lot of teams in a 4-front, if you're just running a base 4, this 3 technique is to the strong side. We could also run this as head up, right? But if I do that, I have to tell my defensive lineman which way to go. Otherwise, they're taking up 2 gaps, and my linebacker is watching 2 gaps, right? I don't need that. I don't need 2 people watching 2 things, because they could both be wrong. Mm-hmm. Each person knows their gap. The chances of them both being right goes way up. The chance of just one of them being wrong also is, right? Okay, so they each know their gap, which is why I like putting us into our alignment, right? We line up there. We can do things with this, but anyways. So
Ninja, from a communication standpoint here, let's say the back bumps out to empty left. Okay. Right? So the back bumps out to empty left. Now you're in a situation where, oh, you're so funny. You're looking at it from a defensive perspective.
Duh.
Empty right. But
yeah, empty left.
Empty right.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. We're there.
All right. So empty right. And so talk us through what your mic would be talking about right now.
Yeah. Okay. So for us, when we get that bounce motion out, we're just going to rotate over. So for us, we stay in our same coverages. We simply rotate over with our coverage a little bit. Backside, we're still good to go. Okay. We can still run all of our same coverages. For us, we would probably check to like a cover 2 read or a cover 4. Okay. And so then we would have depth, 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 depth. And then this one is going to read to follow, right? Okay. So chances are they're not going to run 5 verts at you. They might. You got to have great spacing to run all 5 verts, which is fine. They're probably going to send something underneath. Our linebackers are watching for the underneath routes and or quarterback scramble. But all we do is we just rotate over. We spin the back coverage. We keep our linebackers at home in the box. They're reading for anything here, looking for any crossers. Yeah. For us, a lot of our defense is automatic correction, or I don't want to say corrections, but automatic checks. So right. if they come out in a certain formation, we already know how we line up in that formation, right? We don't have to see it and then be like, oh, what should we do? We typically also have our blitz packages set up for formations, right? Mm-hmm. So that we can go out there, and if they've been, coming at us with a certain formation a bunch, we can have that play in our pocket, or we could have 2 plays because they've got their other favorite formation.
Is your mic making your check call?
So a lot of our mic does usually make our check calls. A lot of our stuff is just built into our system. So when we call the formation, our players know how to line up.
Got it. Right? So everybody starts communicating with each other, and everybody knows where to go. Perfect.
But we do have like hand signals, code words that we use when we see stuff, right? So say we're set, we're good to go, and all of a sudden we see something, we've got something that we can, yell out there so that everybody can be alerted to the change.
If there's a Mike out there, middle linebacker out there with less experience in their dogs, right? So less experience at their Sam or their wheel positions, their outer linebackers. What kind of tips can you give them to communicate clearly in the midst of the stuff, right? Like, what kind of things do you ensure that you do when you might be on the field with somebody who might be a dog of an athlete, right, but doesn't truly understand football as much?
So I think biggest thing, and I was kind of going to get into this at the end, which is fine, is organized thought process. So understanding the most fundamental questions that you need for your position. So as a linebacker, right, I have to know what the play call is, right? What's my play call? Okay. Because from there, I know where I'm supposed to line up. If I don't know that, I probably shouldn't be on the field, right? So I know where I'm supposed to line up. As soon as I know where I'm supposed to line up, I can check for the formation, right? As a linebacker, I should know how we're calling the strength. So if we're on a hash, I can kind of assume that we're going to be having the strong side to the field side, right? Stuff like that, where if I know they're running with a tight end and that's how we've been calling our strength, as soon as they break that huddle, wherever I see that tight end go, I can call I don't have to wait for them to get set. Okay. So then from there, right, that's part of my organized thought process. If I can get that far, I am now set in my position, ready to read my key.
Got it.
Right? But that's one of those things. It's if you don't know those basic things, I don't care how much of an athlete you are, how much of a dog you are, you're probably not going to be in the right spot. You're probably not going to be going to the right place, because if you can't even call a strength and or know where to line up, I got to do a better job as a coach.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's important for a lot of people to truly understand, is that the things that you're talking about have to do with educating yourself, studying the game. Because someone just asked, Kiki Blackman, what's up, Kiki? Just asked, besides being strong, agile, and fast, what are some other good characteristics that a linebacker must have? And I think that a lot of people would be surprised to hear you talk about know your shit, right?
Yeah,
get into that a little bit.
Strong, agile, and fast is great if it's controlled by a computer that knows where and when to input all that strong, agile, and fast, right? I've had players who are phenomenal athletes, but they can't line up right, and then they run themselves into somebody else, and now there's two people out of the play instead of them being the freak athlete that I think they can be. So I think sometimes we have to be willing to look at our athletes and talk football to them and put them in the best spot for their football IQ. Doesn't mean they can't grow, but I've had players who I'm like, you should be a linebacker. You're not there yet. Let's have you play D-line. Let's have you figure angles out, how to attack the ball, how to beat somebody who's right in front of you. Great, you're feeling comfortable? Let's back you up 5 yards, right? Because you know what's going on. Hypothetically, you know what's going on in front of you. Right. Now you should be able to move to it. For my linebackers, even more so than speed and agility, is being able to read the play and attack it correctly, right? If you can read that offensive lineman's block and say, hey, she's reach blocking, that running back shoulders just turned, they're running stretch, and you can attack that hip of that running back, and your outside player comes up on the outside and you guys hit them at the line of scrimmage, that's the play I want. But that's not made by speed or athleticism or agility. Like, that's made with the brain.
Yeah, no, and I think that's like a point that I want to make sure everyone takes away from camp, that if you go at every level of the game and look at some of the best, and let's just keep it on Mike, right? Mm-hmm. Mike linebackers, the ones that I've known that have been great are highly intelligent people and highly studied people. My Mike got a master's from MIT, right? So it's like a lot of these people, even at the highest level in the NFL, are some of the most well-studied players on the field. So that's a really good point. Thanks for going in on that.
Of course. Okay, so right, we're like right at the edge of what OJ was talking about, like how we get to be that sort of cerebral player. So here it is, okay? In everything that we do on defense, we have a key that we are supposed to read, right? Just like running backs are looking for butts, right? They read where their hole is supposed to be, and then they read the butts, right? The butts take you to the promised land, okay? Linebackers, we have a key that we're supposed to read. So I have my linebackers read a triangle, okay? So I have them read tackle, guard, through to the backfield. And when they're reading through to the backfield, they're reading what would be coming at them. If that makes sense. So in this situation, my Mike is going to be reading tackle, guard, through to backside to the running back, because the running back will most likely be coming at them this way, right? They could run something with the quarterback at them. They can easily run away, yes, but the running play, right? Because that's how we think. What can attack me in my area, right? Because I'm not worried about my other linebacker. They've got their job. What's my job? So I'm reading these two through to here. So I'm in my stance. I'm reading my key. My feet are ready to tap. I'm light on my toes. I personally almost have active feet sometimes. Like I'm just like that excited to play, right? Because I want to be ready to go. I don't necessarily want to take off forward, but I want my feet moving at the snap of that ball. Okay, so I'm reading guard and tackle for their hi-hat, right? So there's that offensive lineman, and they're going, I know they can't see me, I'm realizing that again. I do that though, I just like, so that offensive lineman, right, they're going to hi-hat, okay? You're going to see them either move to the right or the left, okay? And that head is going to pop up, you're going to see eyes. It's, I mean, even bad offensive linemen, okay, right? You guys can see me now. So they're down in their little stance. Even a bad offensive lineman on pass is going to come up a little bit, right? They're either going to step, or they're going to drop into their kick step, okay, if they're really good. If it's run, they should be moving towards somebody, not necessarily with eyes up. So as a linebacker coach, a lot of times what I'll talk about, right, read hi-hat, read firing out, right? Look for those eyes, because those linemen are going to come here, right? They're going to come here. Okay, that pass pro isn't always going to be great, but the biggest thing is if you can see eyes, right? If they're passing, that head's going to pop at least a little bit. Even if their stance wasn't very low to begin with, those eyes are up because they're looking for something to block. Okay, so once we read our key, then we can read through to the backfield and read what that running back is doing. Okay, offensive linemen have a handful of blocks, right? They've got a base block. They've got a reach block, fold, pull, down block. I'm sure they're like a fan, right? I'm sure there's a few. I'm sure Dilla would tell me there's a ton that I'm missing. Offensive line, I love the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen. Like linemen are my favorite people in the freaking world because without them, nothing works. Offense doesn't work, defense doesn't work. So like mad love, but like there's really only a handful of blocks, right? It's like you can name a bunch of things, but like they're all kind of doing the same thing. Anyways, if as a linebacker, I can start to recognize what blocks go with where the play is running, okay? And what I mean by that is, so we've got our cylinder, right? Cylinder is going to be this area, okay? Right there, okay? This is the cylinder. Tackle to tackle, right? If there's a tight end, obviously we'll include the tight end in that cylinder. But Mike and Will, that's your play to eat up. If that play comes up the cylinder, boom, you guys should be attacking it. I can get rid of that now. You guys should be attacking it on your side with leverage, but that's a downhill play. But when we see that, it means that running back's shoulders stayed square to us, right? Even if she's offset, she's going to get that hand off. You guys can't see me again. I just need like double screen. I need like 4 screens so that I can have like things.
You are really pushing Bo's technically.
I know I am. Right? Okay. But if we can read the block through to the running back's shoulders, we can identify where the play is going for the most part, right? I mean, there's nuances to football, but for the most part, there are outside runs, there are cylinder runs. When running backs are going outside, those shoulders get perpendicular. They start to face the sideline. They're trying to get width. When a running back is heading upfield, excuse me, like OJ said yesterday, those shoulders are squared. They're putting their foot in the ground and they are coming at you. Okay. Linebackers, we've got to recognize the difference. And that should be as easy as our read. As soon as that ball snap, tap, tap with the feet. Oh, that offensive lineman is reaching. Perfect, right? I recognize the reach block. That means I can get my eyes to the running back. Oh, look, her shoulders are turned. She's headed towards the sideline. This is probably an outside run play. Okay. So that means if that outside run is coming my way, I am not trying to get to the outside of it. Please, linebackers, inside linebackers, know that that is not your job unless you have blitzed somebody or like, no, that is not your job. You have outside help. This dog should be getting to the outside of this play. Why? Because they're already outside of it. Okay? They should be getting here to the outside shoulder of this play. You should be fitting on the inside hip of this play, right? Outside runs are your outside linebackers' responsibility to turn back into you in our defense, right? Hypothetically, we could keep spilling this to the sideline, which is all well and good. But even if we are spilling, and when I say spill, okay, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that are like, spill, I don't know spill. That's fine. All spill means is that we are pushing this player to the sideline. So we're attacking here. We're trying to get them to keep going to the sideline. We are spilling them out of the middle of the field. Okay? I personally like my players to box in. And that means that we are trying to keep people contained to the middle of the field, right? Which is why I tell my dog, if you see this run coming your way, attack outside and set this edge to force them to turn up to your Mike, who is scraping to the inside hip. Okay? Inside hip is really important because that's where our two-man leverage comes in. Right? I've got an outside defender and an inside defender. Obviously, I'd love it if my end got there, kept contained. I'm not talking about defensive ends right now. I'm talking about linebackers. Simple as that, right? Defensive ends I know you're out there being like, I made that play for you. And I'm like, yes, you did. But just in case, we need our linebackers to know how to pursue it. Yes.
Hey, so Ninja, question, because this is a really great point to talk about the repetition of the game. So as a running back who's trying to get to the edge in this point, my goal would be to press that dog to go outside as much as possible and get her moving sideline to sideline so that I can create a gap between that dog and the Mike coming. Mm-hmm. So, and it's about timing, right? I want to make her shoot faster than the Mike can get there. Mm-hmm. So what is your coaching point for, and I know we're not talking about outside, but what would be your coaching point for the Mike to make sure that they get the proper angle and leverage with the dog, that they're on the proper string so that there isn't too much of a gap for that running back to press and get vertical?
Yeah, that is a tough one because it's mostly based on your Mike's ability to read this play and react to it, and whether your dog actually fights to get over the top of this block and fights to set this hard edge, right? So I get what you're saying, getting them to stretch it. Our corner should be coming down as a secondary force player. So then, hypothetically, it could become a force with our dog in our corner, right? And then our Mike would still be scraping over. If you beat them, then they become pursuit downfield, right? Mm-hmm. But they're going to be scraping over, working for cutback. So the biggest thing that I tell my linebackers is to track the back hip, right? We want to track about a yard behind that runner. I don't want my Mike to worry about my dog because my dog has to do their job. My Mike's job is to track the back hip of that runner so that if they put that foot in the ground and cut back, we are right there, right? If I get even with that running back, I've given up cutback. I'm sorry.
Perfect.
Like,
Yep.
So I tell them to track a yard behind that back hip, and they should be flying upfield. So I've got a couple videos that I'm actually going to show that talk about downhill scraping, which is like where I am. So this is perfect. right? Downhill, scrape, and fit. Okay, so I want to go smaller, and I want to go here. Okay. Here. Nope. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go big. You guys can all see my screen, correct? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So one of the biggest things that I'm always trying to work on with my linebackers is downhill scraping. We have a lot of trouble with that because we just want to turn and run, right? We see the ball and want to take off and run. And for linebackers, a lot of times you need to be able to scrape, especially if it's an interior cylinder run, because if you turn those shoulders and take off and run, you're probably giving up a lane, right? A good running back, they see you overstep them by half a yard, they're taking that yard, okay? So, again, this is just a downhill scraping drill with these linebackers. As you can see, they're gaining ground every step they take, but they're not flying upfield. They're not getting caught in the wash, right? We hear that a lot. That means you got too far upfield and you ran into a bunch of defensive linemen and you're just caught in the mix, right? We don't want that. We want to stay with a little bit of depth while moving, right? But we still need to be moving upfield a little bit, okay? Here's their pass drops, right? Getting hips open, nice good depth, getting those hips moving. Stop that, right? And then he has them rally up and fit around him, okay? So, I don't want that one. Downhill tracking, okay? So this is a lot about being on that back hip, right? As we're tracking this runner, we want to stay on that back hip, right? I like these drills a lot. You can see the linebacker is coming downhill, right? If we show the bags, this is something that we do with our linebackers, coming downhill, they're fitting on another player with a bag, all right? I know that people love contact hitting drills. I think that the body learns best when it doesn't have to worry about pain. Okay, so we do a ton of stuff on bags because then we can really make sure that our form is on point. We can still go full speed because that pad there, so I better hear it pop, right? But then I don't have to worry about the abuse on the body. All right. So again, scraping downhill, boom, tacking and popping and driving. You see gaining yards every single play. All right. Here's cutback. All right. He's on the back hip. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this linebacker is lined up on this back foot of the ball carrier. Okay. That's where you want to stay. Right. So as he scrapes, that guy's going to give him a little look. He's going to make sure he stays on that back hip. Okay. Because that's how we take away cutbacks. We stay on that back hip so that when they give us that juke, we've got that yard cushion. Okay. That allows us to stay with them. Where's the one that I want? Oh, nope, I want the back end of it. Okay. There's a Seahawks drill, okay, that they do that's very similar to the next one I'm going to show you, right? So this is, again, just a tracking drill. It's teaching linebackers to scrape downhill while staying on the back hip, right? As that player runs, I speed up a little, okay? As they slow down, I slow down. I match their speed. Okay, I'm never turning and flying. I'm just trying to match the speed of that ball carrier while staying on that back hip. Okay. Where am I at? What time is it? I'm probably running out of time because I could talk about linebackers.
No, you got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. So
and the last question was about how do you drill it? So you answered the question before we were able to ask. So
the next few things I'm going to show you guys are that's not it. Are some of my USA Football shoulder tackling stuff. I don't want sound on it though. I don't need the sound. I'm not worried about the sound. So I'm showing you this one, and it's every time I show it to people, they're like, "Oh man, this is like a little kid drill." But the thing of this is to teach ourselves proper leverage.
The large, please.
We have to make sure that our body's in the right position, right? If I'm going to shoulder strike and have open hips, I can't train myself to shoulder strike while my feet.
Hey, Ninja, hit green button on that thing and make it bigger.
Make it bigger. Thank you. See, this is why I love you guys, because you keep me on point.
Got your back.
Right. So again, near footing up, very intentional near foot. Okay. Same hand, same near foot, Okay, we're attacking that half of the body, right? Real important that we make sure that we're training ourselves to have a very distinct near foot, okay, because that becomes our lead foot when we're going to make a tackle. That becomes our way of keeping our hips open, right? If I get to a point where I'm stepping, I might end up with my outside foot up, and if they cut on me, I don't have open hips to make a play. Okay, so again, this drill, it's super remedial, but it's one of the first drills you want to do because you want to train players to have a near foot. See how the kid has one foot up very distinctly. If that runner cuts to his right or left, whichever, right, opposite of the foot that's up, my right foot is up, and that player cuts to my left, my hips are open. Okay, I'm assuming that I have leverage help on my right side. All right, that's two-man leverage tackle. All right, so next one I want to show you guys, okay, here's a two-man leverage. Volume again. Full screen again. Look, I got this. I'm getting the hang of it, okay? And I'm talking about leverage right now because as a linebacker, understanding how to attack leverage, understanding how to track a hip is going to be your best friend, right? Once I know where I'm supposed to be, once I know the strength, once I know all that baseline stuff, that's when I can start to learn to read the blocking of the offensive line. I can start to quickly identify a running back shoulders. I can do all that watching film, right? I can go into my team's film site. I can go back and watch my old game film, and I can self-scout, right? I can watch the offense. I don't care if it's my offense. It doesn't matter if you know them. Read the offensive line, right? What block did they do? Eyes to the backfield. What did the running back do? Stuff like that, okay? As you can see here, this is that two-man leverage that I was talking about. Inside foot is up. Right, here's a drill. Okay, this is with just stationary bags. The next one I'm going to show you is with a moving target. But again, inside foot is up, very distinct about it. Right, we're keeping the hips open so that if that runner cuts your way, you can easily transition into that tackle. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense for all of you. It's not just me saying, hey, that one foot's got to be up. It's to keep your hips open so that when that runner does make a move, you are able to move with them. Okay? Pause this, and then I want to show you guys. That's the running cadence. I want. Where went now?
Coach, while you're looking for that, a lot of coaches try and give players points on how they can self-correct, right? How do I know when I'm wrong here? How do I know when I'm right here, right? We do that a lot in film, especially for us on offense. Like, yeah, I pride myself on our skilled players knowing to come back and say, man, I was too high there, or I didn't break early enough, or I didn't stem my route, or running back says, I should have cut to the butt or something like that. How do you, in these cases, when you're tracking the back hip, or in a case where you have a two-man leverage tackle, what points do you give the player to self-correct as they come back from it to say, you know what, here's the thing that I should have done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of it is about, were you in the right place? And that, so for us, it's really easy to tell if you were in the right place because you got there and you were able to either fit or form air on that runner, right? If I over pursued, she cut back on me. If she cuts back on me and you're form airing in front of her, that means you didn't make the play because it's an arm tackle, right? So our linebackers start to understand that, right? They understand that, I took too many steps upfield because then when I tried to get down the line, I ran into a lineman or I had to take a pursuit lane upfield as opposed to, as a linebacker, we should always be coming downhill at the offense if we read it correctly. So a lot of it is just recognizing if you are taking the correct initial steps for the play that is actually run. Right? Did you think it was run and fly up and then realize late that it was pass?
Right.
Then your self-correction should be, I recognized late, got to my drop late. Right? If it was a, outside run, but you stepped too far up inside and weren't able to get outside. I read, I didn't see the running back's shoulders going that way. I stepped to dive. Okay. Stuff like that. It's really just recognizing if you're, because that's really what linebacker is. Like, we're not following anybody. We're like, yeah, we have a play called, so like maybe I'm supposed to blitz, but like realistically, we're reacting to what the other team does. So for me to know if I reacted correctly, am I in the right spot at what I believe should be the right time? And most of our linebackers, if they make the right read, there should not be any plays bigger than 3 to 4 yards, right? We should be making contact. Unless it's a pass play. But if it's a pass play, my linebacker, like, then it's really, did you get to your drops? Like, did you get eyes there? Like, were you able to disrupt the play? Yada, yada, yada. Or were you covering grass? So I don't know if that, does that
Perfect.
answer?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. So this is tracking the hip. Again, open space. He's going to track this back hip, right? The hip that is closest to him. Okay. Run and gather. As they speed up, we speed up. Okay. As they slow down, we slow down. See how the guy who's tracking, though, his shoulders never actually turn parallel or perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, right? He's always got shoulders towards that runner, always. Even when he's running, even when he's lateral running, right, those shoulders are still squared up to the running back, and they're still tracking that back hip, okay? As soon as we turn our body to try and chase somebody, we're giving that athlete the opportunity to cut back on us. It's as simple as that. And I know, because you guys can't see me and I'm like demoing, I'm not like really demoing things, I'm just like talking and moving. But, okay, you can try it with you know, your mom at home, right? When you track that back hip, you take away cutback, right? You train yourself to be on the back hip of this runner. It takes away their ability to cut back. It forces them to where you want them to go. And that's part of understanding leverage, is knowing that you're setting them where you want them to go. All right.
Question out here is, do you ever have people who practice drills do you ever have people video practice drills so players can see themselves? Do you think that's effective?
Yes, we film all of our rebellion practices. We film all of our practices. We watch them all. Our coaches give feedback on practices. We record as many drills as we can, because the best way for players to get better is to see themselves. And I know you hear it all the time, film does not lie. It doesn't, right? You might think that you're low. You might think that you're, tracking and you're near footing, and you watch yourself on film. You're like, okay, that's not what I am actually doing. You know what? That is actually what you're doing. So go out and film yourself doing it right. See what it actually feels like. Chances are, if you think you're doing it right and your coach says you're not, you're going to be really uncomfortable doing it right. And that's a good thing. Okay. Sometimes we have to get uncomfortable in order to grow. That's football, man. We are constantly growing and learning and changing, especially on defense, right? Because we're not calling the offensive play. We don't get to decide what they're going to do. Okay, so we've got to be able to adapt and grow. So I 100%, especially right now, I would highly, highly recommend that as a linebacker, you think about some of the stuff. I would work on near footing. I have our linebackers right now, our defense in general, working on near footing drills, working on leverage drills, because it's stuff that you can do in your living room, right? I could do a near foot drill in my living room on a chair, right? Take that chair, flip it around so I've got the back of it. I am near footing to half of that chair. Then I'm going to near foot to the other half of that chair, right? Like, just because it's quarantine doesn't mean we can't get better. And film it. Am I low? Am I actually near footing, or am I stepping to it, right? All those things we can look at, and we can self-coach and we can self-critique. There's a ton of stuff that we can do as players right now that does not involve actually hitting, right? We can work on form. We can work on all these little skills. As an offensive lineman, I can work on my blocking technique, because I can think about hand placement. I can think about, if I'm coming off and I want to get a hand on a hip, that's a pretty specific placement, isn't it? And I could probably do it on a chair. I could say, hey, this chair is a defensive lineman. This is her hip. I'm going to get a hand on her shoulder and my hand on the hip, and I'm going to push this bitch out of the, sorry, I'm going to push this B word out the way.
Oh, there you go. Now that linebacker's coming out. Let's go.
But we can get that work. Like, that's the beauty of this, is we can get a ton of mental work. We can get some of that like little fundamental work if we really think about it and deep dive and want to know what we're working on. You got to go in with a plan, though. Like, it's as simple as that. Um,
Hey, Coach, so the one thing I want to make sure I plug is the Rebellion are doing videos. I've been seeing them, following them at home. You guys are doing some position specific stuff. You've been doing it for a couple weeks. I recommend that everybody check out the San Diego Rebellion Instagram as well as their Facebook pages. They got some great videos out there for stuff you can do in your yard, stuff you can do in your living room. But I think your point, you're actually living what you are saying, and that's making sure that you're getting it in no matter where you are.
Yes, and we are going to work hard to keep those videos coming out. I'm going to try and be more specific in the content of them because now that there's no 2020, like this is time to learn and grow. And so I love football. I love giving back to football. As you guys can see, I will put it all out there. So, the biggest thing that I want to just say last, OJ, is just the organized thought process for linebackers. I have my linebacker mantra. I sent it to my linebackers. I would highly recommend that you come up with something. And it literally is the answer to each question, right? If I see a hi-hat, what do I do, right? If I see a run, okay, well, now I've got to decide what type of run it is. Like, is it cylinder or is it outside? And then you answer that question. And the more comfortable you are with that, the quicker you process through it. Because that's really what defense is getting from the huddle call to where you're supposed to be post-snap. And it's all just a series of questions and getting the right answer. So the more you can answer those questions just immediately, the better off you are as a linebacker. And for me, that's an organized thought process. So anyways.
No, that's real. That's real. And that's not just organized thought. That is agreed upon language.
Yes.
Right. And I think one of the things that a lot of really great coaches have taught me over time is that you are nothing if you don't all communicate the same way. I think as a young coach, it's probably the biggest mistake I made early on, and I'm continuing to learn every day. But you bring up a really good point that if everybody isn't speaking the same language, if your players don't know your language, then you can't truly teach them. You can't build upon it. So I think that's a huge point. Ninja.
Yeah. And that might be something that, teams want to do. Get your players together and make sure that you guys all know the same names for everything. I know that our offensive line has their own language for their blocking scheme. And the people that need to know it. And some of our receivers are like, what the hell are they talking about over there? It's like, they can communicate with autonomously from anybody else. You know what I mean? You play and they're just saying their own thing. And I'm like, yep, we're doing that. Whatever they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So more your team has that, the better off you are. Because if you're all on the same page, that's 11 players playing as one unit, as opposed to 11 athletes trying to stop somebody who's got the ball. Or vice versa, right? No matter how you look at it. 11 is one, or just 11 randoms trying to get it right. The choice is yours. So, yeah.
11 together is easier, man. At least in my experience. Because here's the thing that I think people get twisted is somebody is always weak on every play. You try to get all 11 to win, but very rarely in a football play does all 11 win. It doesn't matter how athletic you are. There is somebody on the other side of the ball that is faster than somebody that you got, that is stronger, that is bigger, that is meaner, right? So one of them 11. That's what we pride ourselves on, finding that one. We're going to find that one and drill the hell out of them. We're going to push them into the ground. So you bring up a good point, man. If you're not doing it together, then y'all going to stick out.
You have to. Because everybody's got a role. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a responsibility. As a Mike linebacker, my job is not to stop the play outside. My job is to be there for cutback because my outside linebacker and my Will should be making that play. If it cuts all the way back to me as a Mike, awesome. I'm ready. But that's, I think, a big part of it is understanding what our roles are on the field, what our actual window is for the play that I'm supposed to make, as opposed to the play that I'm supposed to help, right, or keep from exploding. It's just, you know what I mean? So
that's good stuff, man. Yeah, that is good stuff. This has been fun. We can just talk all night if you want. Yeah. No, but thank you so much, Ninja. I think again, you were amazing tonight. The way you simplify the game, I think is a true gift. to be able to break it down that way. And I know a lot of people are listening in tonight and found some true value in it. So I hope people go back. The cool thing about these recordings is that they'll all be out there forever, and you'll be able to go listen to them and see them. But any last words that you want to give all the linebackers or the offensive line people who are thinking about getting the linebackers out there tonight?
Man, the biggest, like, just realize that football is a mental game. If you can understand those little things that I was talking about as far as reading your key and knowing how to react to that, that can save you. I mean, that can add a second to how quick you get there. And if you're, a slower linebacker, you're making the play now because you read it correctly, you reacted correctly. And so that's the biggest thing. And all that just comes from watching film. The more you watch film, it doesn't have to be a team you're scouting because you're just getting your eyes used to making reads, right? That's really what it is. You want your eyes to see it and say, oh, I know what that is. Oh, I know that. I got that. Oh, yeah. Like that's all it is. And you just see as many plays as you can over and over and over again.
Man, something more frustrating than the mic that a studied up mic.
They're the best.
There's nothing more frustrating than that.
Hey, I was against Canada.
Exactly. I know your place.
Oh, that was the best. They did not know what was up. I was like, yeah, I know your place.
I know your place. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you. Enjoy your night out there in San Diego. Bo, you back with us yet?
Oh yes, ma'am. I had to get some Gatorade. I had some towels. She had me working.
Oh, they're not sponsoring us yet, so let's not.
I appreciate you saying that.
Hey,
I had to get a towel.
We're talking about Team Adidas, Team Riddell,
Team Adidas. Well, I don't know how I needed some rehydration. She had me all over the place tonight. I haven't. Yeah. It was good. I appreciate it. I hope everybody sit back and enjoyed it. It was a wonderful session. Your energy, I just kept trying to show your energy. That was and I wanted to show that plus what you were showing, and I couldn't get in your mind. Yeah. It was very entertaining. Very entertaining.
No, this is the best. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you giving me the chance to share my love of football with everybody who's out there. So that's what it's all about, Knowledge is power.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're helping for sure. All right, fam.
All right,
take care.
Have a great night.
All right.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
All right. OJ.
All right.
Great session.
Yes, man. This was isn't Ninja a badass?
Well, I tell you, it took 48 minutes to get the energy out of her. And she was moving all over the place, the room. It was, yeah. I'm wore out, but
you're wore out.
You had a great interaction, so that was nice to see based on the offensive minded that you are, OJ. Yeah. So it was nice to see that back and forth. It'd be one of those ones I find that people are probably going to come back and watch it, mainly for the fact they miss something in that mind. So we definitely look at it. We'll be back next Thursday. We hope this coming up Thursday. That would be the 16th. Yep. And we hope everybody joins us. We were taking tomorrow off. Sit back and enjoy yourselves on a Wednesday. And let's get ready for the 16th. Do we know who's up for bat on the 16th, OJ?
No, we're going to find out tonight.
Okay. I love that.
So we'll find out soon. We'll
good.
Go over the next 20 hours. Who's up.
All right. Well, session 12 is in the book. OJ Jenkins is in the books, and I'm Bo McMichael. You take care, be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.
Good night, folks.